you. Good. All right. Well, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. This is the culmination of a very long-term investigation. If you'll bear with me, I'm going to walk you through the timeline and the story, if you will, and then we'll introduce all the players on the stage at the end and talk about, again, some of the details of the case. But in the spring of 2013, the Department of Alcohol, Beverage, and Tobacco and the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office worked a case on a synthetic drug manufacturer with known ties to Smokers Video. These synthetic drugs are typically shredded plant material infused with chemicals that are smoked by the users. The chemicals are not marijuana, although they are intended to mimic the effects of marijuana. Instead, these chemical compounds can have unpredictable effects on the human body, which can cause severe and even life-threatening reactions. Although packaging may indicate that the product is not for human consumption, it is designed to be ingested as fake marijuana to get high. As a matter of fact, manufacturers and retailers go to great lengths to package these drugs with cartoon characters or smiley faces on the packages, all designed to entice young people and to make users feel good about the product. By the fall of 2013, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office began making undercover buys of synthetic drugs from Smokers Video retail outlets in Jacksonville. And I have to thank the citizens of our community for the tons of complaints that we got that led up to the investigation. And again, encourage them to continue to call when things are suspicious or look out of hand. That really was the catalyst for some of the initial look at this case. That investigation steadily grew into the coalition of law enforcement partners you see here today, brought together under the umbrella of the North Florida High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Initiative and the partnership with the Attorney General's Office of Statewide Prosecution. The investigation revealed a continuing criminal enterprise actively engaged in the distribution of synthetic drugs. The investigation was complex in that it involved emerging synthetic drugs that had to be identified, tested, and then evaluated for their connection to scheduled controlled substances. The people who manufacture and sell this stuff deliberately change the compounds in an effort to avoid prosecution. And this is where Attorney General Pam Bondi really steps into the picture. And in just a minute, I'm going to ask her to share what she and the folks in her office did in the legislature to end the cat and mouse game that we played really with these distributors when they were deliberately changing the compounds to avoid prosecution. On October 6th of 2015, undercover detectives with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office involved in this case made a buy of synthetic drugs labeled as Sunshine from the Smokers Video store on Normandy Boulevard. The evidence was subsequently submitted to FDLE for testing, and the compound was identified as a scheduled controlled substance. As I previously stated, the synthetic drugs can cause severe reactions. And on October 8th of 2015, Matthew Purdy, a 16-year-old juvenile from Clay County, died while smoking the synthetic drug product Sunshine in a Clay County park. A witness to Purdy's death informed law enforcement that the Sunshine smoked by Purdy that led to his death was purchased just hours before from the Smokers Video store on Normandy Boulevard. The medical examiner ruled that Matthew Purdy's death was caused by the chemical compound found in Sunshine. Yesterday, search warrants were served at 3 Smokers Video store locations in Jacksonville in a storage unit that was utilized by the organization. Additionally, arrest warrants were obtained for 13 members of the organization. The members of this organization faced felony charges that include operating a continuing criminal enterprise, participating in a pattern of racketeering activity, knowingly misbranding of drugs, sale of controlled substances, and delivery of paraphernalia. Also, one store owner and manager, Ronald Brown, is charged with manslaughter in the death of Matthew Purdy. Specific charges and individual names of those arrested are included in the graphics that you see and will be distributed by the PIOs. At this time, I'd like to ask Attorney General Pam Bondi to speak about the work that her and her office did in the legislature to help us with these cases in the future. Ms. Bondi?
Sheriff, thank you. Thank you so much, Sheriff, for everything that you did. And I want to thank Shannon McGillis, who not only worked on the legislation, but will be prosecuting this case and spent countless hours, and all the detectives I see in the back of the room, thank you for your hard work. And Angela Corey, you could not be a better partner in this. My office is prosecuting the case because it's multi-county jurisdiction. That's why we have the case. But thank you for all the effort and hard work you put into it. And thank you to all of our state and federal partners for your incredible cooperation in this long case, this ongoing case. I want to say it's a disturbing example of not only how dangerous synthetic drugs are, but synthetic drug dealers are willing to put poison onto our streets and into our kids. They're not your typical drug dealers. They're for-profit predators. They're basically chemists, and they're manufacturing extremely lethal drugs through synthetic measures. They're packaged, as the sheriff said, to entice children. Look at that. If you walk into a store, can I touch this? This is not a print issue. But look at this. I mean, if you see this in your child's backpack, you're not going to think anything of it. You're not. And I mean, this is lethal. It's so very, very lethal. And, you know, everyone up here on stage, we believe and we want to send a very strong message. You are not going to poison our kids and our teens. And let it be known in Florida that if we find you, we will convict you and we will find you. And you will end up where you belong, in Florida State Prison. This first got on my radar right when I took office in 2011. And it started in the Panhandle, K2, Spice, and it's only gotten worse and more potent since then. So I started signing emergency orders to outlaw this until it could go through the legislature. So far, we have permanently outlawed 136 compounds, but this past session, we were chasing the drug dealers and having to find out which new compounds were out there. Then I would have to sign an emergency order. Then our lawmakers would pass laws to make them permanently illegal, and the governor would sign the legislation. Well, this past session, we're very proud. We call it the analog bill. And what we did is you no longer have to chase the compounds. It's analogged. And that really helped us and will help us in future cases as well. But you no longer have a place to hide based on this new legislation as well. You can't hide behind saying that your compound is different and not yet illegal. So I just want to say one last thing. If you have a child who is addicted to drugs, if you believe they're acting strangely, if you see any of these things, please, please call Drug-Free Duval. If you're not in the Jacksonville area, call your local crisis center. The number for Drug-Free Duval is 1-877-229-9098. If you've lost a child to synthetic drug overdose, and you believe in any of these neighboring counties, that if you believe in any way it could be related to this case, you can continue to help us. Please contact Sheriff Williams' office right away. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Ms. Bondi, for that, and really a thank you to the legislature for enacting this legislation that will take effect July 1st. The next case that we do of this manner won't take as long because of that work that's being done. So we'll be able to shut these organizations down even quicker than we have in years past. So just to wrap it up, I want to tell you a little bit more about the case. This long-term investigation involved many hours of surveillance and over 200 undercover purchases. The investigation demonstrates how hard it can be to break up, how hard it was to break up drug dealing organizations that can change the compounds of their products. And when the government acts abandon them, falsely sell these drugs or offer them as legal. That new legislation, again, as I mentioned, addresses that and puts us ahead of the game moving forward. Synthetic drugs, no matter what the lie is on the package, whether they call it spice or incense or air freshener, they're sold to the public to smoke and to get high, and they contain dangerous chemicals that are not legal. So I'm proud of the law enforcement agencies that stuck together, stayed together, stuck with it, finally brought justice to what was a sophisticated group that's been really profiting from peddling poisonous chemicals to our young people for many years in this community. And this investigation shows the great work that can be done when law enforcement and forensic scientists work together to safeguard our communities. And I cannot stress how the constant calls by citizens complaining about these drugs and the sales of these drugs played an important part in this case. You know, when you know something just isn't right in your neighborhood, you need to call and tell us. We talk about that a lot. We talk about building relationships and having that two-way dialogue. We encourage that to continue. Again, this case is a great example of that. And a quick message to the retailers and producers of these drugs in our community. Don't underestimate law enforcement's ability to make a case against you. This should be evidence of that. And the criminal justice system will punish you, as Ms. Bondi said. And please don't underestimate the people in this community who believe what you're doing is illegal and have a good line of communication with us to share that information with us. So we'll be looking at other retailers in our community and working to get every bit of this off our streets here in Jacksonville. So this time I'd like to recognize all of the law enforcement partners who played a huge role in this for us. And again, what was a multi-year, very complicated investigation. And without them, we'd not have been able to be successful. So obviously, Ms. Bondi's office, Nick Cox and Shannon McGillis, our statewide prosecutor, thank you so much for your help. Mark Brunell, the ASAC of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Mark, thank you for your assistance. We have from the Division of Alcohol, Beverage, and Tobacco, Chief Janet Hartman. Janice, thank you for your help. And then from HIDA, the High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Initiative that we all participate in, Bob Perryman, the Executive Director, is here with us. Bob, thank you. I'd also like to thank the Florida Air National Guard for their counter-drug assistance. Colonel William Beiswinger and Colonel Hageman, thank you for all your support in the investigation. Also the NCIS, Navy NCIS, ASAC, Garrett Wall, thank you for your help. With Homeland Security investigations, you have Special Agent Rex Setzer, Rex, thank you for all your support. And with the U.S. Marshal's Office, Penelope Knox, the supervisor there, who help us track down dangerous felons in this community and our dangerous felons that get out of this community. They do a great job in helping us track those people down every day. Our partner, Drug Free Duval, and Susan Pittman is with us. Susan, thank you for all your help and support. And then obviously locally, our great state attorney, Angela Corey, who works many cases with us every day, this being only one example of the great work that we do together every day. Angela, thank you for all your help and support. And then my partners in crime fighting, if you will, Sheriff Bill Leeper from Nassau County. Bill, thank you for being here. From St. Johns County, I know David couldn't make it today, but we have Chief Brian Lee with us. Brian, thank you for coming. And also from Clay County, Rick also was tied up today, but Captain Jim Morgan from Clay County was here with us. And we want to thank those agencies as well for their support. So with that, we'll be able to answer just a few questions. Again, you have lots of information in the packets that you'll get from the PIOs, and lots of what you may need will be in that packet, but we'll be glad to answer a few questions.
Sheriff Stephen Delford, this question is for you and Ms. Bondi.
Sure.
Kind of talk about, you guys are harping on the legislation. I spoke with a mother last night when I did the store. His son was addicted to K2 from the Normandy store, 6 weeks of rehab. Talk about how difficult it was to prosecute people before this legislation and how easier it will be to prosecute. And, I mean, I'm guessing there are other stores more than just Smokers Video in Jacksonville or in these multi-counties that are selling this. How will this legislation help make more arrests?
Right. So, and I'll speak briefly and then let Pam address it as well. But I can tell you this. So, look at the length of this case. The length of this case was really driven by the fact that every time we identified a compound, those chemists that she mentioned could change that compound and create another layer of work for us to do, an executive order, an emergency order signed by the legislature, signed by the governor, to get that scheduled. So every time that we would identify a compound, it could be changed. Now, with the new legislation, that's not a factor anymore. So I'll let you address some of that.
Well, and it has been such a difficult task because this is relatively new to our state. The first I heard about it was in the Panhandle in 2011, and Sheriff McKeithen brought it to my attention. They outlawed it in Louisiana, and I think they probably brought it down here because spring break was coming. And one of the side effects, you hallucinate. And you've got kids in high-rises who could jump off buildings. And that was the sheriff's biggest fear. So I called him within 3 hours. He was in my office. We sent FDLE into the Tallahassee Mall, and they legally bought this stuff. They came back and tested it and looked like they had seen a ghost because it was legal. It was basically synthetic LSD, acid, horrible, hallucinogenic. So the only time I've ever used, people say it's power. It's not. It's a lot of responsibility. When I sign an executive order with the stroke of a pen, I can make something illegal until it goes through session the next year. So I was having to sign emergency orders, and I don't take that lightly because we were worried our kids were about to die. And many have overdosed, as we know. So that's how we started doing it. And then every year, the legislature's they've been great partners with us on this. And of course, the governor in signing it into law. So Governor Scott's been a tremendous partner. So we were doing that. And then this past session, what we did, thanks to all of Shannon McGinnis's hard work, who's now, we call her an unofficial chemist and toxicologist, I think. She's been working so hard on this. We're doing it now by groupings. So when they come and try to be, because they're trying to outsmart us, and they're not going to. And this case is a result of that. But wait till another year. They're not going to be able to change the compounds. Because if it's anywhere close to those compounds, it's called analogging. It will be illegal.
Yes, sir.
Explain what is or how does analogging work?
Sure. Well, we have a list of, like I said, we've outlawed 136 compounds. Of course, we can't make household bleach illegal. So they have different compounds that they mix together. So that's how we started signing emergency orders, passing legislation, adding additional compounds, thanks to FDLE's tremendous work in analyzing these. But then what they would do, they would just change up one or two of the chemicals they mix in there where it wouldn't be illegal. So now the law says if it's similar enough, close enough, I'm simplifying it, but it will also be illegal.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you comment on Greg Burris has passed his previous charges for racketeering?
Say that again.
Greg Burris has passed his previous charges.
Yeah, we unless we get something in the packet, we're not going to comment on any of that right now.
Can you talk about how NCIS helped?
Yeah, where's you want to mention just briefly?
NCIS's role in this came early simply because we had Department of Navy members, unfortunately, frequenting the shops and buying narcotics. So as part of our role in our agency, we do whatever we can to conduct criminal investigations to identify what's happening. In this particular situation, we found that there was an initiative already underway. So we do what we do. We partner with local and state law enforcement agencies to address that the best we could.
You know, and we mentioned it before, but we were talking about this before the press conference. Rarely do you see, if you pay attention to the national news, rarely do you see press conferences with this kind of cooperation. You've got state, federal, and local agencies working together. We have worked together for years on many, many cases. This is just one example. But that's something for this region to be proud of. I mean, we pride ourselves in that, being able to work together and the results we get from that. So, again, today is a great example of that as well.
Can I talk about the NCIS and the Navy for a minute? I mean, we have incredible naval officers, incredible. And we have incredible teens and parents out there. One of the things, I'm sure you hear it too, State Attorney Corey, parents think, oh, not my child. My child couldn't get addicted. My child wouldn't do that. It could be our friend's child, but not my child. They could be sitting at the dinner table with you every night, and you have no idea that they're out there taking these drugs. And probably, perhaps some of our naval officers got addicted because they had injuries and were on pain medicine, and something leads to something else. And this is so highly addictive that that's why they try to hook you, and that's why they try to package it that way, to go after our teenagers now so they will become addicted and keep buying it.
And you look at how this is marketed. I mean, some of the things that you'll see here, ways to hide it typically from parents. You've got 2-liter bottles and different things here that were also sold in the store, again, as a way of hiding what was being sold as legal incense, But again, good examples of just one location that we dealt with yesterday. Somebody had their hand up. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about some of the synthetic drugs that were seized here, what those compounds were, what their effects were, and had they been banned in the past, or was that something they were just ahead of you on?
No, I think most of these here are, obviously seizing them, they're banned now. It's just a matter of working through the process of the investigation. They have changed again compounds over the years and the months sometimes to be able to stay one step ahead of, again, prosecution. The effects of this are similar. They smoke it, they pass out. They smoke it, they hallucinate. Again, it is not like anything that we have seen in the state before, and it's highly addictive, highly dangerous, and really can cause some serious issues. So this is obviously a worthy target of all of our efforts.
I mean, how accessible is this around the state? Obviously, we've targeted these 3 stores, but it's got to be out there elsewhere, right?
It is, and there are other locations that are around the state and some in our city that are continuing to do this, and we are continuing to work investigations in those areas. So without targeting any or telling you anybody specifically, this is a focus of ours. So we're going to make sure that we not only do what we can do today, but we use that legislation after July 1 and really begin to work hard on these locations. Yes, ma'am.
Can you comment on the current racketeering charges that are in this report for Greg Burrs?
Well, they are racketeering charges surrounding this investigation, so that'll all be detailed in the packet. Anything else? All right, good. Well, thank you all for coming out today. We appreciate it. Thank you.
You guys might want to come up and photograph this Coke bottle up close so parents can see it. I've never seen anything like this. Sure. Can I touch this? There aren't fingerprint issues with this, are there? Seriously? Well, yeah. Yeah, I want to. That's look at that. Yeah, you guys need to come photograph this for parents to see it.